Welcome to the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast. My name is Katie Dodd and I am a nutrition entrepreneur. But here's the catch. I have a full-time traditional dietitian job. My entrepreneurial endeavors are my side hustle. I've been making six figures through my job and side hustle doing things that I love. If I can do it, you can too. This podcast is for dietitians, interns, and students who want to be inspired to start or perfect the side hustle of their dreams. Let's do this. Welcome to the 68th episode of the Dietitian Side Hustle. I quit my job. Oh my goodness, you guys. I honestly cannot even believe that we're having this episode because it feels so surreal. You know, I've told some people in my inner circle, but I want to let you guys all know that on December 1st of 2021, I turned in my notice for my full-time job. And even though this episode is saying I quit my job, technically I turned in my notice. But that's the same thing, right? I gave my work a 1-month notice because I wear a lot of hats. I didn't feel right about a 2-week notice. So technically I am still working full time, but my last day is going to be December 29th, 2021. So, oh my goodness, you guys, I have so much to say. I kind of don't know where to start, but I will say I've got some notes to try to keep me on track as I go all around sharing this exciting news with you guys. Because I will tell you, I never planned to leave my job. Even when I started the brand Dietitian Side Hustle, even when I started going into entrepreneurship, I never planned to leave my job. This was an evolution of learning what is possible, learning what I can do, and I'm going to share all of that with you in today's episode. So, what is my job? For those of you who are maybe newer to the podcast and you don't know what I do, I work full-time for the Department of Veteran Affairs. I work in Southern Oregon and I do a program called Home-Based Primary Care. Now, I will tell you, when it comes to traditional dietitian jobs, for me, working at the VA has been a dream. It was my first job out of school and I love it. Like, I will tell you, I am not one of these people who am like, oh my gosh, I finally got out of my full-time job. I'm one of these people, it's a little bittersweet for me because I love my full-time job. I have the honor and the privilege of serving veterans every single day. I have the best boss in the world and I really love my job. So I will tell you, I am not leaving this job because I don't like it. I like it. The other thing I will say about my job is that I make just over $100,000 in my full-time job. Now, if we're familiar with dietitian pay, that is pretty darn high for a dietitian, especially because I do not run any programs or supervise any people. I am a dietitian making $100,000 a year, working at the VA, a dream job that I love, crazy amazing healthcare benefits. I have a pension. Like, who has pensions these days? Not many people. A 401k plan, really great holiday pay. So it is a cush job. When it comes to, traditional jobs, it is a lovely job. So the question is, if I have this great job that I love so much, why on earth did I quit? Why did I turn in my notice? Let me tell you why I made the decision to leave. So I started my business officially in June of 2020. I've been side hustling, for years. I've been doing side hustles, I believe, since 2014. And I love the side hustle. I love doing these things. Obviously, it's why I created this brand. But I ended up making a shift from treating a side hustle as a hobby to treating a side hustle as a business in January of 2020 when I established my LLC. So the other thing that changed for me is when I started investing in business coaching. When I started working primarily with my business coach, Greg Todd, I've also worked with Javier Carlin and Marissa Case. And these amazing business coaches have helped me so much in seeing what's possible and really diving headfirst into entrepreneurship. So I am a part of a business mastermind. It is a year-long mastermind with my business coach, Greg Todd. It was a $30,000 investment to be in this mastermind for a year. Now, there are 11 other healthcare professionals, mostly PTs, in this group. We talk on Voxer daily, we have weekly calls, and we meet in person about quarterly. So this is an amazing group of healthcare professional entrepreneurs. We're all at different stages of the game, but we really support and build up each other. So when I joined this mastermind, this was June of this year, so June of 2021, and when I invested $30,000, I think I shared this before, but for reference, the previous year I made $33,000. So to go from making $33,000 in 2020 and then halfway through 2021 investing $30,000 for, joining a business mastermind, like, I will tell you, that was a really, really hard decision. All the anxiety in me was flaring. I'm like, what am I going to do? And in that moment, I knew, okay, I'm not going to be at the VA forever. If I'm going to be investing this much money, time, and effort into entrepreneurship, I'm probably going to be leaving the VA at some point. And again, not because I don't love the VA. Honestly, you guys, it's because I love entrepreneurship more. I'll talk more about that. So in June, when I signed up for this mastermind, I thought, okay, maybe in 3 years. In 3 years, I'll leave the VA. That sounds safe and secure. A little bit into it, I started shifting my goals. I'm like, okay, maybe a year. Maybe I'll leave the VA in a year. But that sounds kind of audacious. You guys know I like audacious goals. So I was kind of leaning into it. But then at the same time, I'm like, that's too crazy. 3 years is safer. Fast forward to September of 2021. And this was our first in-person meeting for my mastermind. We met in Orlando, Florida. And, there's a lot of stuff we did. It was a 2-day mastermind. And when we came into the mastermind, we had to come in with an ask. My ask was, how can I make my blogging accelerator program even better? Like, help me, guys. I want to really improve this and how I show up and offer my services for dietitians. Like, how can we make this even better? And what I got out of that was, Katie, you need to leave your full-time job. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't ask that. What is going on? And as we're having this conversation, I'm coming up with all these excuses and reasons why I couldn't possibly leave the VA. I mean, healthcare benefits. I am the primary, income bringer-inner in my family, and I have amazing healthcare benefits, and my family is a high utilizer of healthcare benefits. So I just kept coming up with excuse after excuse after excuse. Cool thing. What my business mastermind friends did was they helped me to tear down each and every one of those blocks that I had in my mind for why I couldn't possibly do this thing. I had this excuse and they said, nope, we don't see that. I'm like, oh no, this is happening. Now, one of the main things that happened was when we did the math with how much money I'm making in my side hustle versus how much money I make in my full-time job, and then looking at how much time I spend in both. And pretty much what we figured out was for every 1 hour I spend in my side hustle, I make 4 times more than 1 hour I spend in my traditional job. So gosh, imagine if I was spending 40 hours a week in my side hustle instead of my job, how much money I would be making. So, at the time I was making, 300% more in my side hustle than in my full-time job when we did the math. So, as we're talking about it, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. I love entrepreneurship. I will tell you all of the stuff I do as an entrepreneur, this podcast, my social media channels, my websites, my blogging accelerator program, my Blog Boss Mastermind. It doesn't feel like work. It is fun. It fills my heart with joy. It brings in more income than my traditional job, and it gives me freedom. Time freedom to show up and be present with my kids. It gives me financial freedom, clinical freedom where I can do whatever I want to do because I am the boss. So when I was in that mastermind, this was a Saturday, I was the very first person to go when we were doing our little rounds of, what is your ask for the group? And, I got blasted with that whole, Katie, you should leave your job business. And while I didn't say this, when I was there, I thought in my mind, 2021 is going to be the last year I ever work at the VA. All the anxiety filled my little heart. I was like, oh my God, because I knew it. I knew that was what was going to happen. It felt impossible. I'm like, I have no idea how this is going to work, but I know this is what God is calling me to do. Now, the next evening, Sunday at dinner, I actually did tell people, I was like, you know what, guys, I've made this decision. 2021 is going to be the last year I ever work at the VA. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know what this is going to look like. And I am scared, but that's what we're going to do. And I actually want to share one thing for those of you who are watching this on YouTube. So if you don't know, the podcast is found on all the major podcast directories, but then also you can watch the video of me talking in my little office on YouTube. So I have this vision board and I'm going to share it with you guys. So I don't know how well you can see this, but this is a vision board that I made in June after I joined my high-end business mastermind. And on it, I actually had a picture of me turning in my letter of resignation. Now, it wasn't me, it was clip art, right? And then I have a picture of someone dropping their kids off for school. Because I will say, one of the things that really drove me to leave the VA was something very small. I'm talking about all these big things, but the small thing that's really driven me was wanting to drive my kids to school in the morning. So I work a compressed tour, which means I work 6:30 to 5 o'clock, Monday through Thursday. It's a blessing because I have Fridays off, which I've loved, especially as my kids were young. But I've always wanted to drive my kids to school. And it seems like such a little thing, but because I was never able to be present and to do that, it just was like, oh my gosh, it's like those little moments that I want to have with my kids that I can't because I have this full-time job. And my son just turned 11. I feel like I was just pregnant with him, you guys. I do not know where the last 11 years went. If you're a mama, you probably relate to this, but in my head, I'm like, I only have 7 more years until this kid is 18 and potentially could be out the door. We know these days they stay around a lot longer, but it really sets that timeline of this is time I can't get back with my children. And so for me, I have on my vision board, a dream that I have is just to drop my kids off at school. And being a full-time entrepreneur can enable me to do that. And I'll show you guys one thing, actually. If you can see this, I don't know. It's probably really hard to see. But when I turned in my notice to my boss, he actually was super sweet, and he took a picture with me. And so I have a picture of me handing in my letter of resignation to my boss. Again, he's the best boss in the world. And I printed it out, I cut it out, and I put it on my vision board over that clip art. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, someday I am going to put the pictures of reality over this vision that I have. Like there's these things that I want to accomplish that I have vision of. So, once I am a full-time entrepreneur, which will be very soon, I'm going to make my kids pose and wave when I'm dropping them off at school. I'm going to print that out and I'm going to paste it over this clip art. So that way, just seeing like, oh my gosh, this stuff is coming true. So that is why I made the decision to leave the VA. I love this job, but I love entrepreneurship more. I love being present with my family more, and I make a lot more money as an entrepreneur. And I have a mastermind group of people who are building me up and telling me, Katie, this is possible. You can do it. So on the flight home from that mastermind, I live in Southern Oregon. There are no direct flights. So I had 2 flights, a layover, and plenty of time to think about my plan on how the heck am I going to leave the VA. So here's what I came up with for my plan. So for me, in my situation, I wanted to pay off our last remaining piece of debt outside of our mortgage. Like we have a mortgage, but it's cheaper than rent around here, so I'm fine with it. Over the last couple of years, I've been able to pay off my student loan, my car loan, my husband's car loan, and the last piece of debt was my husband's student loan. So my plan was pay off our last piece of debt, so that way we are debt-free outside of a home loan. And then I wanted to save enough money to cover 6 months worth of paychecks that I would get from the VA. So that was step 1. That is what I needed to do. And I did the math, and pretty much, I would have to pay off that debt, and then I would have to have $33,000 cash at the end of 2021 to cover those first 6 months of what I take home in cash from VA. So that was my plan. From there, I came up with a plan of how much money am I going to have to make each month to cover the cost of what I work at the VA, because it's not just what I take home in my paychecks. It's also the healthcare benefits, what they pay, which is bananas crazy. It's really high. And, all of the benefits that VA normally would cover. So I ended up coming up with a really good buffer to cover everything. I did the math and figured out, okay, I can do this. This is doable. So I got to work. And I will tell you, the month that followed me leaving that mastermind event was my best month in business. I made $30,000 in 1 month, guys. That's pretty much it. I'd already paid off my debt that I paid for my business mastermind. I had already paid that off, but that right there, I'm like, boom, I just made it in a month. I do have to pay taxes on that. But looking at the revenue and take home, it was my highest month ever and totally crazy and mind blowing for me. But when we have a plan, we have a really strong why, and we have the drive. It is amazing what we can do. So that month, I made the most I'd ever made in my side hustle. I paid off my husband's student loan, so we're now debt free. And I have spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets. So in my spreadsheet, I've got everything figured out, and I was like, okay, come the end of December, I'm going to have the money that I need in the bank. This is doable. I met my goal pretty much 1 month out, which is crazy. So, oh gosh, let me tell you a little bit more about this. Well, actually, let me talk to you about the drive to stay. Because even after I made the decision I was going to leave, I can't tell you how even up until turning in my notice, going back and forth between, I can do this, everything's awesome, and holy crap, what am I doing? And I want to talk to you guys about what was the driving force of wanting me to stay at the VA. What was the one thing that made me not want to turn in my letter of resignation? And I will tell you, it was fear. It was fear of, what if this doesn't work? What if I fail? I mean, my brain was even going to like, what if I end up getting breast cancer and I don't have insurance? I mean, my brain was going some crazy places. Like, I'm fine, I'm not sick. But, there's all these what ifs in life. But even when you have a, full-time, safe, air quote, safe traditional job, nothing's guaranteed. We know that even more as we move through 2021 and 2020. Nothing is safe, nothing is secure, and we only have this one life. So my friend, she calls a full-time job with really good benefits, she calls it the Golden Handcuffs. So the benefits were what was keeping me stuck in the VA. It was the amazing pay. It was the healthcare benefits. It was all these wonderful things that were almost keeping me stuck because it just felt like this is safe. Now, if I become an entrepreneur and I make a ton of money, I can pay for my own benefits. And so when you think about it rationally, it doesn't make sense. But I think a lot of you could probably relate to this when we think of the safety and security of a job. It does feel safe, it does feel secure, but it can keep us feeling stuck, especially if that's not where our heart is. Now, I will say one person who I've really looked up to on this journey is a fellow dietitian entrepreneur named Sarah Hall. I imagine many of you do know Sarah Hall. She has her own podcast called The Sarah Hall Show. She's pretty active on social, and she is amazing. If you're not in her world, you need to be in it. And Sarah, I've had some conversations with her. We've hopped on a Zoom call just to chat. We've gone back and forth on, Messenger several times. And she really inspired me because we have a similar journey. She was a VA dietitian for about 12 years, very similar to my timeline. And she left the VA this year. And when she did that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And what she told me was, I wish I would have left sooner. And that really stuck with me. It stuck with me a lot because I would think of Sarah when I started feeling like, well, maybe I'll push this off. Maybe I'll just save up a little bit more and I'll leave later. And I realized the urgency of, I can't stay stuck. I can't allow these golden handcuffs to keep me stuck. If this is my dream and this is what I want, I need to do it, and I need to do it now so I don't have any regrets and I don't look back thinking I wish I would have done this sooner. So I really appreciate Sarah for that. She was one of the first people I messaged when I turned in my notice. I let her know, I'm like, I did it. So I made that plan and I went to work. I accomplished my goal, so I knew I could leave the VA. I ended up actually just a couple weeks ago, I was back in Florida for our second in-person mastermind event. And when I was there, I really started looking at the numbers. I'm like, okay, where am I now in my business? Because remember, last time I was there, I was like, okay, for every 1 hour I spend in my side hustle, I make 300% more than I do in my full-time job. And I told you after I set those goals, I started like working and I was able to bring in so much money into my business. And I did the math, and I just want to share this because it feels pretty bananas. But instead of making 300% more in my side hustle, in those 3 months, I made 1,120% more in my side hustle for every hour I spent in my side hustle than in my traditional job. So if that was anything for motivation to show like what we're capable of when we put our heart in and we are committed to doing something, I'm like, oh my gosh, I made twice as much money in that 90-day period between the two in-person mastermind events. I made twice as more money than I did in the entire year of 2020, which is crazy. So for me, a lot of this is stepping out in faith and trusting God in the journey He is bringing me on, recognizing that I am going to be able to help so many more people on a higher level. I am going to have, that financial freedom and time freedom with my family. And I'm going to live this life that I never knew was even possible, which just feels so crazy. I know that bigger things are ahead, and I'm excited and I'm terrified. And I love so much that I could bring you all on this journey. I know many of you who have listened to every single episode I've ever done, from the first episode that aired in, November of 2019, before I even formally had a business, and you followed me on this journey. And so many of you reach out and you cheer me on. And, I'm here showing up, trying to give you guys information to help you on your side hustles. Now, many of you, all you ever want is a side hustle, and that's fine. When I was doing blogging, that was my side hustle, and I was content with that. I think where things went gangbusters was when I got into this business coaching world of wanting to help other dietitians. I think that's in my heart. And the more I got into that's really what's taken me off of just the side hustle into like, I need more time to do this full time because I love it so much and I want to help so many more people. So gosh, what is ahead? Well, first off, I'm going to have to change the intro to this podcast because I'm not going to be a side hustler soon. Now, obviously still, I know I can still have the brand dietitian side hustle because that's what got me started, and I can still support you guys who are side hustlers. And I also know a lot of you who listen, you are not side hustlers. You're just entrepreneurs and you're just looking for some information, inspiration, education. But then there's also some of you who are side hustlers who want to leave your job and do what I'm in the process of doing now. So it's still going to be the same, podcast name, same community, same idea, same support, but I got to change the intro to this podcast. So I am still a side hustler until the end of 2021. So I just want to end this episode with providing you guys with encouragement. I want to encourage each and every one of you listening, whether or not you have big audacious goals of one day leaving your job or just starting your side hustle or even just making a couple $100 on the side. Like whatever your goals are, they are right for you and they are valid, and goals change over time. Mine certainly did. And we can also achieve our goals much faster than maybe we think. So number one, I want you guys to believe in yourselves. I want you to believe in yourselves, and whatever your goals are, make a plan. Get it out of your head and write it down on paper. Make a little vision board. I shared, those of you who watch this on YouTube, I shared what my vision board looks like. So make a plan so you know exactly where you're going and how to get there. Surround yourself with the right community. I would not be here today if it was not for investing in these crazy expensive, high-level business mastermind coaching things that I'm doing. But they helped me get to where I wanted to go faster. They provided me so much encouragement and support. And the people in my mastermind are my biggest support system. When we were in and we were actually in Clearwater for our last one in Florida, I was actually like tears in my eyes. Someone actually had to hand me tissues because I was just expressing my gratitude to them, saying like, I get to drive my kids to school. And this would not have happened if it wasn't for you guys, for helping me to believe in myself and show me what is possible and what I can do. So I cannot speak enough about surrounding yourself with the right community who's going to build you up and support you and help you to make those dreams come true. And then finally, believe in yourself, make a plan, surround yourself with the right community, and do the work. Now, you don't have to have a ton of time to do this. I have just been, what is the word? Just, I'm drawing a blank here. My brain's leaving here. Started getting teary-eyed, so I'm fading fast. But I've been slowly chipping away at my side hustle over years. And I just continue to learn more, invest more, grow more, and believe in myself more. So you guys, this is possible. Just do the work. Show up every day. Recognize that maybe the dreams that you want aren't going to happen tomorrow or the next day or even the next year. But if you stick to it, you guys, anything's possible. So thank you so much for listening to this episode as I talked all about quitting my job. And I appreciate you guys so very much. I can't even begin to describe how much I appreciate each and every one of you who listen. So have an amazing day, and we'll chat soon, guys. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast, guys. Be sure to head on over to the Dietitian Side Hustle website at dietitiansidehustle.com and check out our coaching page to learn about all the ways that we can work together. Have an amazing day, and I'm so proud of you for taking the initiative to listen to this podcast. Now go out there and get it done. Bye, guys.